Are you done yet? The podcast brought to you by Innovative E, tackling your work management challenges, a Microsoft Gold partner.
Hi, and welcome to Are You Done Yet? Our podcast about work and project management. I'm Mike Taylor, president of Innovative E. I have with me Bryan Quick.
Hey, everybody.
And our special guest, Gino Degregori.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
So, Bryan, you want to kick us off today?
Yeah, so we're back. Are you done yet? We're never done, but we said we would bring guests and friends, and we have this week. So Ginos here from Bravo Consulting Group, and Mike and I here from Innovative E, just working through your project and work management challenges. And so, Gino, we've got a strategic partnership going on between Bravo and Innovative E, and we're kind of synergizing together, if you will, at different accounts. And having a lot of overlap lately, but where we've come from a concentration in project and work management on the Office 365 platform, Bravo is coming at it from a different angle in security related with Office 365, and you guys do a lot of work with the government. Is that right?
And that is correct. Yeah, a lot of our work for the past 12 years have been in the government side for the first 10, and now we're expanding and kind of building some strategic partnership with you guys, and trying to expand beyond that, right? Be able to provide more value to our customers with these strategic partnerships like you guys.
Yeah, it's been great. We've done a lot of good work for. There's an insurance company out of Texas that we've been working with, and that particular situation. It's been pretty unique. I mean, it's almost like we talked about last time, Mike, with what we called application rescue, right?
Right.
Situation
right.
is that, it had a SharePoint environment that they were working on internally. It wasn't quite working out the way they'd hoped for the purpose that they laid it out for. And they had some stops and starts with some other firms and coming in and taking a look at that. And we were able to team and pull together a team, not only like lending great project management to the exercise and making sure that everybody was kept informed and that we were marching toward a goal, but also the expertise that your guys brought to the table in terms of SharePoint was really at a high level.
Right. So what we did there is, like you said, we were actually engaged with some other initiatives with this particular client, and this thing came up, and they're like, "Well, can you guys do this?" And we said we actually have a strategic partner that's really strong in the infrastructure side. The SharePoint, they were running into some really pretty hardcore technical issues, a very large SharePoint implementation. So we reached out to Gino, and he has guys on his team that are just top notch on this. And Gino, it's been great. We're wrapping up that engagement now. We're just kind of moving into their next steps of how they're going to return it back over to the customer. But done a really good job, you guys. I mean, the customer can't say enough about the team as a whole.
No, thank you for the opportunity. And this is exactly the what we want, right? Efforts where we don't have the expertise, but you do, and it's vice versa. So our team had a great time looking at the environment and been there. One of our folks used to work for Microsoft actually, and is very familiar with the kind of the ins and outs, especially from a SharePoint Online and the records management component that it had in there. So luckily for us, we're able to kind of provide that value add and look good for your customer, and it seems like there might be even a bigger opportunity too in the near future to help them. So
yeah, that's really the best part of it, is that we're able to go in for one reason, Mike. We were there for project management, and then kind of talk about something else, and that's what I really like about Innovative E and our relationship with Bravo, is that really, we can expand the conversation. Sometimes it's about, being brought in for one thing and then helping with more. And we're seeing that at different customers. I know that there was one yesterday that you sent me, Gino, where there's a financial services customer in Virginia that's having some trouble with project management. And you guys were already helping them with Office 365. Is that right?
Yeah, we were they reached out to us and they said project server, project management, and they were leveraging like smart sheets or something like that.
Yeah, right.
This is a perfect opportunity. This is what the partnership's all about. Why not leverage our partnership and send it over to you guys, and keeping fingers crossed. I hope it turns out to be something great.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting conversation. We're having a lot of them lately. Even stuff that we would normally not be involved in. We're getting a lot more kind of interesting conversations there. With just following up on the topic of application rescue, we had a conversation with a customer in New England last week about a screen scraping application that they've been using that's really out of date, and they would need to refactor it for the future. They talked about getting that into Azure, using the Power Platform for some of those capabilities. So that's a kind of exciting conversation that we've been having. And then just the other day, a conversation with another customer about just moving forward Office 365 on the whole. So in these kind of times that we're in, it is April 23rd, 2020, right in the middle of the quarantine, and everybody's still working from home. We're trying to be creative about the things that we can get involved in, leverage our skills and our community, our strategic partners to get things done for customers.
Yeah, and I think that plays really into something we talked a little bit about last week, but we're seeing more and more. We're trying to listen a lot, right? There's a lot of things going on that our customers, there's some new realities that everybody's dealing with. The work from home piece has obviously been a huge piece of it. How to make sure that you're using the tools and everything else. I think we're going to get to a story that Gino's got here in a minute about that with one of his customers. But really listening and saying, what is it that these new realities, and how can we help from kind of a thought leadership perspective? So we're really trying to approach it not just from, hey, I've got this technical issue, but this whole idea of the application rescue and some of these other things that we're getting involved with. What the customers really want, they don't necessarily just want technical resources. They want somebody like the SharePoint issue you mentioned with the insurance company down in Texas. They told us, we want somebody who can come in and lead this. We've been trying. We've thrown technical resources. We've contacted Microsoft. We need an approach. We need somebody who can help lead this from a process perspective and make sure that we can move through it. So that's what we did with Gino's team. We came together, like you mentioned, Bryan, and said, here's a process we're going to follow, and here's the right kind of technical expertise. So it was the thought leadership and setting up the things that will ultimately, and defining, as you like to say a lot of times, Gino, defining the criteria for success. What does success look like? And they said, okay, the success looks like this, this, and this. And so we all collectively went in and we did those things, and actually a little bit more. And I think that's, in these times especially, a lot of folks are really needing that kind of leadership and thought leadership and really partnering with the customers on where and what they need to do. There's a lot of new emerging things going on, but Gino, maybe I know you were going to bring this up, Bryan, but be a good time to talk maybe a little bit about that. You had big customer you had that you've had a lot of success based on the new realities of what's happened, and Absolutely. They came back with some good feedback.
That one big customer, the government.
Exactly. So I'll touch here that in a bit. I just wanted to kind of emphasize the conversation as it relates to what the world looks like now. I mean, it's completely global economy now changed, right? I mean, people that were fighting. We were talking just in January or February with a customer about, they wanted an assessment for a security piece, and they have all the infrastructure on-prem, and we were like, why don't you look at the cloud? Oh no, we're old school. We don't need to. We want to keep everything secured. And now and we've been following up with this customer, and they're like, okay, well, given the situation, we need to assess. We need to look at what is that digital transformation look for us. It looks to us. To make sure that we have everything that we need, everything is secure, our people can access this information, our applications need to be converted, as you guys talk about that, looking at those legacy applications and see how we can make them, ready to go for the users, right, for the mission at the end of the day. And it's a huge opportunity for both of our customers, both of the companies to maximize and provide value again to the customer. So I'm super excited. I know it's not the best situation in the world, and from the personal human side, but from a business perspective, there's definitely a lot of opportunity that we're going to be seeing this year, next year, and on. But coming back to the customer that we're talking about, I'm going to give two examples. I can't say the agency's name, but one of them is on the intelligence community side, which it's one of the agencies out there, the 3-letter agencies, They are actually, given the situation with Zoom and what's happening with being hacked and potentially bad people are trying to get information that way. They had a town hall leverage Teams, Microsoft Teams, doing their live events, and it was amazing. I mean, it was to be able to everybody was able to log in to view. They had questions, along the sides, and the director of that agency was able to answer them. And it was very interesting because you see this individual at the highest level, and he was right there and answering the questions that were presented for folks at the task level, right? Asking about something about a project management piece, and he was like, so he was answering. So it was really, we would like to see the adoption of the tools that both of our companies, are using every day with Microsoft. So that's definitely a plus, to see that customer. Another agency this is more on the federal civilian side. We were brought on back in October for a 2-year contract to support them on Office 365 adoption and change management training as well. So they've been investing heavily into Office 365. They migrated and done a lot of things. Okay, so we were brought in. We provided a kind of a plan of attack. We've been training them. We didn't know about the COVID stuff coming up, right? And when this situation hit, the agency was able to flip the switch and say everybody's going remote, everybody leverage SharePoint, Teams, all the different tools that they've been training on. And if you don't know, here's a location where you can get all additional information. And they were able to flip it in a day without very minimal, impact, just a few calls, to the help desk. And that's amazing.
There's something to be said about, there's folks that did all this before the world turned upside down. And, they thought about, hey, what's the best work from home strategy we could have? What's the best, web conferencing service that we could be on that's going to be the most collaborative for our employees? And then there were folks that companies that didn't emphasize that for one reason or another, or didn't think it was for them, or were on legacy systems where you're still dialing a number and putting in a code and a hash in order to get into a conference call, and it's like so-and-so has left the meeting, and we're on those still, Mike. I mean, depending on the customer that we're talking to, right? And it just feels like 2003 or whatever it is, right? So, but it's there. I think that maybe folks that hadn't embraced it before, the fear factor of working from home is probably gone by now. They're got over the hump. They trial by fire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and one of the things that's really interesting about this, I mean, you bring up a great example of somebody who got ahead of it for the very reason to make sure that workforces were more virtually enabled. And you guys did a great job of setting them up for success. I was just talking with one of our customers just a couple of days ago. It's very large, one of the largest healthcare providers in the world. And this is a little different use case. This was more on the project management side. We've been helping them for the last couple of years. They had a vision to get to, they had no real project management system in place. They had a vision to get to where they could have, a single source of truth that they could have, they could be more trusted by their business partners by being able to say, yes, we can do these things, we can rearrange these things. So basically they created a system based on the Microsoft tool set, Project Online and others, Teams and SharePoint and those things that enabled them to have this in place. So then comes COVID, and they had, like everybody else, they had a large part of their workforce that had to go home. They were telling me that they had to do a couple projects that they had to reprioritize, right? So they had to go to their upper management, their board folks, everyone say, we have these projects, and very first projects that bubbled to the top were how do we get several thousand people to work from home? They weren't as far along as your customer. So these projects they executed within just a few days, and by reprioritizing, and now they're in the mode of they still have to do the projects that they had. Some projects have changed, but now they're able to, through these tools that you mentioned and through the system that was already in place, they're still able to have the agility to continue to manage their business, to reprioritize their project portfolio, and do those kinds of things to continue to serve, in this case, it is actually the public. So it's, you mentioned that it's a very bad situation. It's creating some opportunities for organizations, but it's great it's a great feeling to know that the work that we're collectively doing, Gino and Bryan, is actually helping across the board. And it is really helping in many cases, people be more effective, be able to do things and help improve the lives of folks, and in the case of and sometimes actually save lives. So it's a really important thing.
I'd like to dovetail on that because that's the exact customer we're talking about in that scenario where we were able to come in and show value with the project suite. We also looked at, Edison 365, lighting that up for that customer. This is a medical customer. But also, we recently introduced Gino to that customer. Right. So there's some other things that we can help with in terms of getting that Office 365 tenant onto Active Directory, doing single sign-on.
And it's really, in that particular case, Office project was the first workload to move in there. Mm-hmm. We started working with them a couple years ago. They had plans to move into the 365 and do their Azure Federation and all that kind of stuff, or AD Federation. And now you kind of hit on this a little while ago, Gino. A lot of digital transformation efforts are now being accelerated because of this. And in this particular customer, that's exactly what's happening. This is one of those projects that's coming up as a more, it's more of a hot project. They needed to get this done. And so we actually, as Bryan said, we reached back out to Gino's team and talked about doing the federation, and they're very interested being, with PII and HIPAA requirements and everything else, they're very interested in maintaining the, the security piece. And now that they're going to have a more distributed workforce and they're accelerating their cloud transformation, that those are components also that Gino's team can bring to the table.
And that's where we've been pivoting for the past 3, 4, 5 years, really, from a Bravo perspective. We being a Microsoft shop, we've been doing a lot of deployments of SharePoint, and starting, and then 5 years ago started going into the cloud. But going into the cloud also requires a good understanding on the security side, especially from a government side, right? All the FedRAMP and all those NIST components, and bringing the right resources to understand the security, the technology, as well as the policies, right, to make sure that we are doing the right things. But a lot of organizations now being forced to go to the cloud, their biggest fear is always security, right? And I'll touch later about at least three tips that I'll give you guys. If you're looking to get into the cloud from an Office 365, we can talk about that. But it's that fear of what's going to happen to my data? Where's it going to go? How am I going to secure it? How are my people going to access it? What if they go into it and all of a sudden they lose a laptop, a device? How do we make it simple, not only simple, but then also hard for the bad people to come in and do something bad to that data, right? Because
it's critical.
You'd be surprised how much, especially when you talk about the healthcare, all this, issues and violations and fines that people are getting, right? Because they're losing, they're not being compliant. It's something that it scares a lot of people going to the cloud. But now with this big push, that priority of those projects have come up, but with security in mind in the forefront, because you have to, you can't.
It's all about security. What are those 3 things? Like if you were to say, Gino, thinking about using Office 365 for your organization, doesn't matter who you are. You could be the local Hallmark franchise, shop down the street, or you could be the DoD. What are the 3 basic things you should think about when using Office 365?
Absolutely. And so now Microsoft is making it easier and easier, especially when you move to that. The first one is, and a lot of people they call it 2-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, that allows the administrator to enable that for all your users. And it makes it very simple. It gives the user options. They can receive a text, right, to authenticate themselves. They can receive a phone call, to their cell phone, or they can, if, like, for example, some of our folks are on the SCIF, right, meaning it's a secured environment, but they do have access to a phone, that they can put that number, they pick it up, and they can now check some, our corporate emails if they need to, right, if it's necessary. So there's different options that allows us. So multi-factor authentication, number 1.
Why is having another factor of authentication important? Just for the people, that might be watching that aren't familiar with that. What's the first factor? First factor is your username and password.
Yeah, username and password. It's 2 validated. Like if you lose a username and a password, right? Somebody hacks it. That's one, and they can log in, and if you have administrative, access or whatever, they can. Whatever they need to. That second is important because it's tied to you, right? It's tied to your
phones nowadays, right?
Absolutely. So it's like it can be a text, it's a phone, or you can even download an app called the Microsoft Authenticator. Where you put a piece of code.
It's so easy. All I do is it comes to my iPhone for multi-factor. and I just scan my thumb and I'm done. I mean, it's really non-obtrusive. Nobody should be saying, "Oh my gosh, that sounds like an extra step." I mean, we're on our phones all day long anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And they're always with us, right? It's never very far.
So multi-factor authentication. So that's one.
Yeah, the second one is password changes. Some organizations, you see that it's unlimited. You don't change it for a long time.
Right.
Some people have it like 180 days. We recommend for a tighter environment 60 days.
60-day password changes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean 60 to 90 days.
And there's that's just a pain in the neck. Let's be honest. I mean,
it is.
Like every time our administrators ask me to change my password, it's disruptive. I have to do it on my phone and on my PC, but it's just the only way to keep things locked down. And don't make it like a guessable version of the previous one, right?
Right. And there are tools out there that it kind of helps with that process, so you can remember one password and then in the background it changes for you. So we can talk about that. I don't know if the people are interested, but I know the pain point for having personally too, like, oh man, here we go again. I got to change.
Here we go. Yeah, it's going to be that kind of morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that, but
yeah, like I said, it's a necessary evil, though. You can't really avoid that one. So
yeah. Yep. The last one I said, the third one is guest accounts. So, for example, Teams or SharePoint Online, if your environment is enabled, you can invite people that are not part of your organization to come in and view your data, view your content. If you're working on it, for example, in companies like ours, we're in the government contractor, we're going after a proposal for an agency, and we're bringing 2 to 3 other companies, right? We have a process where we stand up a Teams location to manage all our proposal activities, different channels, different things, and we invite these folks, our partners, to come in and give them access to certain areas, right? So we can now collaborate. It's so much easier to collaborate in this environment than sending emails back and forth. The latest of that proposal, which Mike, you and I, we've worked on proposals, and we've leveraged Teams to the max, right?
Absolutely.
And we maximize our time. We're able to spit out a proposal in a week, I think, one of our state and local opportunity, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
But the guest accounts, once you create it, you need to make sure you're paying attention to who you're giving access to those guest accounts, right? And every month go in there, have a report that we provide to our customers, say, here are your guest accounts. Are they still good or not? If they're not, then let's take them out. And if you need them, you can bring them on. Just to keep another way of making sure your environment is clean of unauthorized access, because you never know how the hacker come in. There could be a flaw or something. You never know.
And there's a lot more to, the M365 suite than those 3 things. But those are like table stakes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. No matter who you are.
Exactly. Yeah. You can. They're trying to make it very easy. Microsoft is, but having a company like Innovative E or Bravo come and help and give you kind of the roadmap. Here's there's a score, secure score essentially on where you score in your security, in your industry, and it gives you a really nice. We provide that assessment and provide that to you guys, to the customers, and kind of break it out nicely. So, but there's a lot of more things that can be done to make sure that your environment is secure.
Great. So, Gino, you might say that this relationship between Bravo and Innovative E is taking off.
That was a nice cue up. I know what's coming next.
So tell us a little bit about what you do in your free time.
In my free time, is essentially, I'll share my screen here. Look at
that.
That was a great day.
I've been flying, and this was 2 years ago, I think. I've been flying. I'm a pilot, so I've been flying for the past, how long? 7 years now. My son is 7. Yeah, my third kid. Before my third kid was born, I said, look, if I don't get my license right now, I'm never going to. So, I got my license days, or I think maybe it was a few weeks before my son was born, my third one. So I was like, yes. And I've been working towards it. What I'm flying now it's a twin Cessna. I'll show you guys in a second. I'll come back to it.
Wait a minute. Wait, who's got the controls on that one?
I'll come back to that one. was a scary moment, but I'll come back to that.
It was fine.
But that's Mike and I. That's the airplane. It's a 1979 Cessna 310 R Model R, and it's 2 engines. And we're talking about security here, right? And one of the reasons I got into a multi-engine airplane is for the redundancy, right?
Well,
and,
I like that idea. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
And a redundancy of making sure if one of them fails, we got the other ones, to continue. and the saying is, you have another one, but not to continue to your destination. You have another one to get you to the ground, right? So I've been enjoying flying for this long. Take my family to different places, and I've really been able to maximize it for business. Going to meet with partners, meet with customers, in Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and different things, and it's really shrinks the world, to be able to get places. I can get to from Virginia, where I am, have my office, to Orlando, for example. It's 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's
great. I mean, that looks like fun. It looks like you guys had a great time up there, but you didn't really let him control the plane, did you?
I did. I said, you're controlling picture right there, and I closed my eyes, and we started going to the left, a little bit down. I was like, no, hold on. No, I'm just kidding. He did well.
Now, what was that like?
I think it was the angle.
Have you done that before?
I've done it. I've actually been in simulators before, like real simulators. Microsoft took us to a place and did it. It was like a Top Gun thing, and but it was actually different. Actually sitting behind the wheel and really, because the plane's really moving. It's not just like a simulator. And at first it was, it actually was, it was starting to drift a little bit. But to his credit, he didn't take the wheel back from me. He could have, and he just said, no, just pull back a little and go look. And so it started following a line, and it wasn't really that bad. But of course, that wasn't the hard part. It was just up in the air. But it's kind of like driving, but then you've also got up and down. So
it's kind of like a project plan, right?
Yeah, it was really fun.
Ups and downs. Yeah,
we had a great time.
Sort of like the engagements that we'll have with Bravo and Innovative E. Sometimes we take the wheel, and sometimes Bravo takes the wheel. So it's kind of a good analogy. So that's fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, trust, the key word right there.
Trust. Yeah. Trust without the fall part.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So Gino, what is it like what's different about working with the government than the private sector in terms of these types of Office 365 engagements, additional considerations, things that you have to do a little bit differently? It's almost like, because I think of it like you've probably gone through more diligence and had more security conversations than like a usual customer. So going back into the private sector, which is something we've talked about, you'd like to get into a little bit more, is like easier.
Right. It's a little bit of change of pace for sure.
Yeah.
First, I would say two major things. One, or maybe three, but one is the transactional process, right? When you're working with the government, they really need to vet things. Obviously, whether it's in the IC, federal, civilian, they want to vet who the companies are and what they're providing. So there's a long, procurement life cycle of that. Sometimes it could be as quick as 6 months, and say quick 6 months, or it could be as long as 2 to 3 years. People are kind of working and positioning themselves, and going through the different requirements that they required, certifications, resources, whatever they are. I mean, it's a list of things that takes care of that. Compared to the commercial side, leveraging relationships or talking to folks. The way we approach our commercial customers is, we've been supporting the intelligence community and the DoD in securing their environments.
Yeah.
We would like to share that with you guys and help you get to that level as well, right? So that was so transactional is one, and then the second one is the policies, right? Policies and procedures that government you have to follow, and like NIST and FedRAMP, and those are put in place to protect their environment, as well as our warfighters out there, or the federal environment. And there are certain policies that some organizations in the commercial side need to follow, especially in those regulated industries, right? That having that experience in the government allows us to talk to some of those other government contractors that don't have the technical savviness to get to the cloud to secure their environment, right? We can easily help them speak to that. And in the healthcare side, you got the HIPAA and all the NIST things that they have to follow as well. And then even in the financial sector, there's a lot of pieces that that need to be regulated. So, which you're very familiar with that, Bryan. So, so that. Those are the biggest things, but at the end of the day, technology is technology. Everybody is looking to make their lives easier, right? What's in it for them so they can perform their work, their mission at the end of the day. And the other one is make sure that they're secure, right?
Yep.
Their information, their data, all of that secure. Those are the two areas that the underlying, the common denominator is there. How they go about and getting it, that's where the biggest difference is, right?
Yeah, and what level of rigor that you need to add to it too, because sometimes we don't want to put in too much security right on the suite or leverage every bit of what's available if it's not absolutely necessary, because it does add additional diligence and additional steps to the administration and on the user part.
Yep, it's a balance.
It absolutely is that balance for sure. Is that governance, right, and security, compliance, they all kind of go hand in hand. It's like you can make it very secure and very hard for the user to do what they need to do, or you need to find that balance where it's perfect for them, it's perfect for the back end, and the security to be taken care of. So it varies by organization. It varies by in the government space, and it varies by in the commercial space as well, right? So
Yep. No, that makes perfect sense. I saw you disappear there for a second, Mike, but you're back.
Yeah. I am.
It's the nature of working in teams, and working from home. Some of you have probably noticed that Mike's got his regular background, but Gino and I are using the custom backgrounds in Teams. Let's have a little background party here for a minute, guys, and explore the space, what's out there.
Yeah.
This is a new feature, a relatively new feature that's been added to Teams, and it's kind of fun. You can change your background here. I'm in the balloon land, and very psychedelic. Gino, good choice there. And Mike's on the beach.
I'm in the space, man.
You really explore the space there, buddy. Yeah.
Someday, man. Someday we'll be going up there.
There you go.
Yeah. Now I'm in a loft in New York City, just in my personal space here. Oh, Mike.
I'm in a space station.
Looks like a cartoon. Yeah, excellent. Oh, and Gino's in Minecraft. So it's fun. It's fun. And I heard that what's coming next from Microsoft is adding your own background. So you'll be able to put your own backgrounds on there. So that's kind of exciting. Makes it all fun for us working from home here during the coronavirus situation.
Absolutely.
But so what else, guys? I mean, we've covered a lot of bases today, and talked about extensively about the relationship between Innovative E and Bravo Consulting, kind of our history, our background, how we can help customers, a little bit about the government, about security. So anything else we wanted to cover today?
Well, I'm sure we could go on a lot of continue to talk about these customers that we brought up are just a small fraction of the customers that Bravo and Innovative E work with, and we are seeing these new opportunities of different ways of doing things that our customers are coming up with. So excited to continue to do that with Gino and our customers, and see how we can help people navigate this new reality.
Oh, one last thing. I mean, just to close the loop on what Mike is saying or add to it, it's appreciate both of you guys allowing me to participate and share, this partnership, because, again, it's about partnership. And, if you look at what Microsoft and, the CEO has been doing for the several years, is really embracing that whole community, the ecosystem, don't just look at it and be selfish, right? Let's look at it with the mindset of, why not work together, create that win-win that will help our customer, the end user at the end of the day, right? It doesn't matter. There's so much opportunity, so much companies in need of our services. Let's work hand in hand, and I very much appreciate you inviting me, and I look forward to being part in future, podcasts, and maybe sharing some successes.
Yeah, let's do it again. This was fun. So episode 2, Mike.
Episode 2. Yeah, maybe the third one someday down the road we'll do one from Gino's plane.
Hey, that's fun. I like that.
right.
That was fun, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us for Are You Done Yet? Next week, or whenever we get to it, Mike and I will have a demonstration and a conversation with Tad Haas from Edison 365. Until next time, this has been Are You Done Yet? Thanks for joining, everybody.
Thanks, Gino. Thanks, Bryan. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.